Good morning. This is KELOLAND on the go with all you need to know in news and weather as you start your weekend. We also have your boredom busters coming up, but first, our top story. A Republican candidate for governor is defending his choice of words that have caused an uproar from his fellow lawmakers. During a floor debate over medical marijuana on Thursday, Representative Steve Haugard referred to a woman he knows who was addicted to meth as a wrung-out whore. House Democrats say Haugard's comment was misogynistic, but Haugard says they were words the woman herself used and that he repeated them to draw attention to the problem of addiction.
Well, I always regret if someone's offended by my comments, but the point of this whole discussion was the ugly reality of drug addiction.
Referencing a woman as a whore in any circumstance is completely vile and inappropriate, and misogynism and hateful speech like that should never be accepted in our state.
Representative Aaron Healy says Haugard's comment will further stigmatize the problem of addiction and prevent more women from seeking help. Haugard says the backlash over his comment is politically based, but his opponent, Governor Kristi Noem, is calling for the House to formally reprimand and censure Haugard. A former Sioux Falls police officer was back in court Friday facing federal charges of pornography. Luke Schauer is accused of sending explicit messages and pictures to an undercover agent posing as a 12-year-old girl. During Friday's hearing, prosecutors read through the 2 felony charges listed in the indictment against Schauer, which could carry up to 40 years in prison. The judge also re-entered Schauer's not guilty pleas. Schauer is free without posting any bond. A KELOLAND business is installing life-saving devices after one of its employees went into cardiac arrest. Alan Austin is alive today thanks to 2 Beresford police officers and their use of an automated external defibrillator. He suffered a heart attack on February 2nd while working at Southeast Farmers Co-op. Now the company's safety director says they're buying and installing the machines at all of their locations.
I listened to them that day, you know, how they talked you through it. I think if people learn how to use them or get a little familiar with them and know a little bit of CPR, at least if somebody goes down, you ain't going to be hesitant to run to one and grab one.
Austin is a longtime volunteer firefighter who's helped others during similar emergencies. Let's get our first look at the forecast now with meteorologist Adam Rutt in the Storm Center. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, Perry, and good morning, everybody. A lot to unpack today, so let's get right outside on this Saturday morning. To Falls Park we go. 32 degrees at the airport with a north wind at 11 miles per hour. A little bit of fog out there in the distance, but we're going to be keeping an eye on what comes around later this morning into the afternoon, which is, to say the least, going to be messy. Temperatures now near, if not just a little bit below freezing in many locations, including that 32-degree reading in Sioux Falls, 31 Worthington, 30 Marshall and Yankton, 27 in Pierre and Sisseton, 25 Aberdeen, 23 in Rapid City. But you know, Spencer on the warm side of a warm front at 38, but temperatures are going to come crashing down later today as we head through the afternoon. Winds have now turned to the north in Spencer. They were previously out of the south, but that northerly breeze is going to again bring in a decent bit of cold air. Here's satellite and radar. There's the warm front. Earlier this morning, we had some showers and thunderstorms in portions of Iowa. Still could hear a rumble of thunder or two later this afternoon in the northwestern portion of Iowa. But the big story is going to be this area of low pressure and how it just wreaks havoc, really, in terms of just a wintry mess in portions of KELOLAND, mainly snow to the west. Some mixing and icing not out of the question further to the east. We'll break down those details and the rest of your not so active 7-day forecast coming up.
All right, thank you very much, Adam. On the Summit League Basketball Championships, which gets underway today, mean big business for Sioux Falls hotels. As the basketball court comes together inside the Premier Center, down the hallway at the Sheraton, the staff there is preparing to welcome fans. The hotel's general manager started about 6 months ago and is looking forward to his first Summit League tournament.
I'm very excited. This is kind of first time that we are 4 days sold out, and it's going to be busy from the morning. What I overheard from my co-workers, it's going to be starting at 6 o'clock in the morning and goes until midnight.
Now, Vesely says is also gearing up for what he says will be the hotel industry's busiest summer since 2019, before the start of the pandemic. The Sioux Falls Toy Show features hundreds of tables filled with collectibles, antiques, dolls, model cars, and games. The Toy Show is taking place at the Ramcota Exhibit Hall from 9 to 4. Sunday's hours are 9 to 3. Admission is $6, free for ages 12 and under. The Davis Volunteer Fire Department is hosting a smoked pulled pork fundraiser. Serving time is from 5 to 7:30 tonight at the Davis Legion Hall. The cost is a free will donation. Curbside and drive-up options are also available. Wings Gymnastics is hosting an open house at its new West Side location at Lake Lorraine. There will be treats, obstacle courses, giveaways, and drawings from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free. Enjoy a weekend of live theater in Sioux Falls. Roald Dahl's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is playing at the Mary Summerbolt Hall of the Washington Pavilion. The performances are at 1 o'clock and 6 o'clock. The Premier Playhouse presents the 39 Steps at the Orpheum Theater Center. The performances are at 2 and 7. Sioux Empire Pit Rescue is hosting a meet and greet where people can visit pups currently up for adoption. It's taking place from noon to 2 at 4060 South Grange Avenue. And the Sioux Valley Model Engineer Society is hosting an open house at their club building on the north side of the fairgrounds. The free open house runs from 10 to 4. Adam?
We're going to be watching the thermometer very carefully as we go through the day. You can see that moisture starting to make its way into southeastern South Dakota toward Yankton and portions of Yankton County. Also Clay County starting to see a little bit as well. But the bulk of our snow still out to the west toward Custer and Fall River counties. Even western Pennington starting to get in on a little bit of that action. This is all in association with a complex low pressure system really getting itself wound up over the course of the morning and into the afternoon. Further south and east of this warm front, you know, some pretty strong to severe thunderstorms already this morning. You can see a little bit more of that later today in portions of Iowa. But on the cold side of things, we start off with a bit of a mess in terms of a wintry mix in a couple of areas before switching over to snow. Now, how quickly we get this cold air in place is going to dictate how quickly we also switch things over to mainly snow. So a lot to go over. We're going to try and take this down step by step. First off, a winter weather advisory in blue for a majority of KELOLAND. Winter storm warning, however, toward Fall River County. For the advisory, it's mainly snow the further west you go, the Missouri River Valley, but to the east toward Madison, Marshall, Worthington, even Sioux Falls as well. That's where we could see some mixing and some freezing rain at first, putting at least a glaze of ice before things switch over to snow. So regardless, we're going to be looking at some hazardous travel conditions over the course of the day. Also, a marginal to slight risk for severe weather in place as we head through your day. There's that marginal risk extending just up in the northwestern portions of Iowa towards Sioux City and Spencer, and then that slight risk level 2 out of 5 in yellow, Storm Lake over toward Waterloo and Des Moines. All forms of severe weather on the table with any severe thunderstorm that is able to pop up, especially later in the afternoon, so please keep an eye out over the course of the afternoon. This is going to be an interesting day, to say the least. So here we go through Futurecast. Here's 11 a.m. You notice a little bit of everything on the map. Some rain at first, key phrase, towards Sioux Falls, Yankton, and Worthington. Starting to see that mixing taking place toward Huron and Mitchell. That moves eastward. You can see that right over Sioux Falls into Yankton, Worthington up toward Marshall, with mainly snow the further west you go. Now, if we can get colder air to come in quicker, we get that transition faster. If warmer air hangs tough aloft, that's when things get interesting. So again, keep an eye out for updates. Regardless, the switches over to snow later in the evening and overnight. So we are going to be dealing with a flash freeze where standing water is in place, and then just outright snowy and at times icy conditions on the roads headed into Sunday morning. Speaking of which, the second half of the weekend looking like it's going to be a breezy, albeit generally quiet second half of your weekend. In terms of snow, again, this is subject to change over the course of the day. I cannot stress that enough because we're going to be watching that temperature profile very, very carefully. Regardless, we also do have that chance for some icing, especially towards southwestern Minnesota, right along the Iowa border and into portions of southeastern South Dakota. So if you must be out, please be careful. Temperatures will stay below average with few exceptions as we head closer to the Ides of March. Today, we're talking about highs in the 30s and 20s, the former towards Sioux Falls into Worthington. Spencer already peaking a little bit earlier, but they will gradually go into their own free fall as we head into the night with lows falling into the teens to, at best, the low 20s. All the while, it's going to be rather windy. Your 7-day forecast does have a brief warm-up by Tuesday. We get up to 42, but then we're going to watch the Wednesday and Thursday outlook as another system comes in. This time around, we're looking at a mainly snow potential by that point. Still something to watch, though. Stay safe. Have a great day, everybody. For more on your news, weather, and sports, you can always head on over to KELOLAND.com.